Vanderbilt and Mizzou get set to do battle down in the West End this weekend. We are here previewing, predicting, and breaking down this game between the Commodores and the Tigers. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips. He's Cole Thompson. We appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. As always, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. We are inching ever so close to that 30,000 subscriber mark. We can't do it without your love and support. Also, guys, make sure you check out our friends over at FanDuel because, as always, we are brought to you by our friends at FanDuel, FanDuel.com/SECU to join today and get started with $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Taylor's, fade us, whatever you want to do, but don't look now. The boys are getting hot. I just went 5-0 over the weekend. Bears been tearing up the bookie all season long. So, again, get in on the action. Play with us. Bet with your friends. FanDuel.com/SECU to get going and get your bonus bets today when you win your first $5 bet. It's Vandy. It's Mizzou. It's FirstBank Stadium. The college football world. All eyes will be on Nashville, Tennessee this weekend. College game day is in town. College football playoff implications are at stake. We got a fun one. Vanderbilt, Missouri, set to do battle. We are here previewing, predicting, and breaking down this game. Hello, everyone. As always, I'm Chris Phillips. Joining me, as he always does, my co-host, colleague, partner in crime, Cole the Bear Thompson. Bear, what's going on, my friend? Appreciate you taking the time. I almost feel like we should call this the Bear Bowl. I mean, I don't know if there's a game you're going to be more excited about this weekend. It's your boy and really our boy, Diego Pavia. It's MIZ. Something's got to give on Saturday, Bear. There's going to be college football playoff hopes that don't come to an end, but take a serious hit Saturday afternoon down in the West End. What's going on, my man?
Chris, I would like to ask you, if you had a time traveler up here and you were able to go back to 2021 and look at yourself and say, by the way, I just want to let you know, in week 9 of the college football season of 2025, we're going to have Vanderbilt, top 10 Vanderbilt, host college game day against top 15 Missouri for a college football playoff berth potentially on the line, with two teams that feature a Heisman caliber player leading the charge offensively. Oh, and the two coaches, they're being looked at by other major universities around the sport because of how good of a job they have done in Nashville and Columbia. What would you have said to yourself? You would have, number one, been shocked that time travel actually existed. Number two, you would have had that person committed to the nearest insane asylum, because if you never could have imagined Eli Driggins and Clark Lee fighting for potentially getting a pay raise and becoming a top 10 coach in college football. Who's this Diego Pavia kid? The New Mexico Institute kid? Ahmad Hardy? The kid's got 0 stars next Thursday. We're going to be talking about that. And that is the beauty of college football. That is why we love this sport. That is why we are going to be in for what I believe is going to be the most slept on game of the year mentality come Saturday afternoon when these two take the field at FirstBank Stadium for what really could be a special day to remember in the history of either program.
Yeah, Bear, I'll just come out and say it right now. You know, we're headed to Baton Rouge this weekend for the SEC Unfiltered Tour, and I am very excited. But this is another weekend. There's a lot of them for me where I do wish with every fiber of my being, Bear, that I could be in two places at once, because we just had an epic weekend in the city of Nashville. If you cannot tell, now college game day is coming to town. I would give anything to, again, clone myself and be in Nashville, Tennessee this weekend at this ball game. But that being said, I will be here in spirit, and I know the doors will be packing out lot 2. MIZ is going to travel down to this great city. It is going to be an epic ball game. I agree with you on Saturday afternoon. 2:30 kickoff, guys, on ESPN down at FirstBank Stadium in Nashville. Bear, Vandy is a 2.5-point favorite via our friends over at FanDuel. The over-under is set at 52.5. Missouri does lead the all-time series, Bear, 11-4-1. Last meeting, of course, came last year when Mizzou won that game. You might remember that was a thriller. Yeah. 30-27. That was kind of our first look at, like, hey, Vandy might be different, or maybe this is just another random Saturday, but it turned out to be Vandy was different. Vandy was for real. They almost got Mizzou last year on their field. I think that was one they felt like they let that game get away, and Missouri was able to sneak out of there with a win. But that being said, Bear,
overtime win. Remember that too.
Overtime win, yes. The Vandy kicker missing a pivotal kick in that ball game that cost them. But this one, Bear, even more at stake, much, much more at stake. Like you mentioned, Vanderbilt is in the top 10. And what I think is so impressive, Bear, sticking with the Vandy side of this just for a moment, this is not a Vandy team. Like, I think maybe in years past, or if the makeup was different, I'd be asking myself, man, like, how does Vandy handle this? How do they handle the spotlight? How do they handle this attention? Like, Are they really built for it? We could have asked that question last week, and that's what even impressed me last week going in the LSU game. They were favored first time against a top 10 team. We made a huge deal about that. Talking to folks on that staff and that are familiar with that program, they believe exactly this is where they're supposed to be. Like they're like, yeah, we should be favored. We should win this game. We should go to the playoff. Like none of this is coming as a surprise to them. And it really is a testament to Clark Lee, which obviously then spreads to Diego Pavia. We know about his confidence, right? We know about his belief in himself and the football team and the football program. But this entire team, this entire program has embodied that. It has impressed me so much. The way Vandy, it's not like they have imposter syndrome. We're like, oh my God, like we don't really deserve to be 10th and have game day and all that. They're like, dude, this is exactly where we thought they would be. And I mean, Bear, we'll see what happens Saturday, but you have to give so much credit because Diego Pavia was getting clowned over the summer for saying stuff like, hey, our goal is to go to the national championship. Our goal is to be in the playoff. Bear, am I saying the Doors are going to win the national title? No, I'm not. But brother, they are a for real college playoff contender. And that started with the belief in knowing this is where we belong. So I just wanted to bring that up, Bear. For some other programs, some other teams, maybe this program with a different cast of characters, you could say maybe there's something where they get, bright-eyed and like, oh my God, like now the spotlight's on us and they kind of tense up. I just don't see that with this group, man. Missouri very well may walk in and beat Vandy on their field, but they're going to have to beat them. I don't think it's going to be a scenario of where, Vanderbilt just got imposter syndrome and didn't show up for whatever reason. The Doors are as confident as ever. Mizzou's confident as ever. Sets up for one hell of a matchup.
What's interesting and what bothers the crap out of me is that people still are trying to find excuses on how Vanderbilt is doing this. I mean, we are into week 9 of the college football season, and I still see accounts going from the national perspective. How is Vanderbilt able to continue to pull this off? You need to stop asking that question. You need to start asking, what can we do as a staff to slow down Vanderbilt? Because Vanderbilt's a good team. Full stop right there. Vanderbilt has a good defensive line that gets after quarterbacks and forces them to make mistakes. Vanderbilt has a secondary that is able to win in press man coverage. Vanderbilt has weapons that are able to get open and find crevices to go break for big-time gains. They have a rushing attack. They have an identity. And we call it Vanderbilt football because of when Vandy plays Vandy football, they don't lose. That's the bottom line. So if you're Corey Batoon going into this matchup, knowing that Mizzou really has an opportunity to kind of silence the critics, because some people are saying it's fool's goals that they're sitting at 6-1. They look at the way that you were able to get on by in double overtime last week out of Jordan Hare, your easy schedule to begin the season, 5 straight games at home before you took on Alabama. This is an opportunity for you to have to study the tape and go, how do we make sure that Vandy doesn't play Vandy football? Because this is no fluke. There's an identity, there is a staple, and more specifically, there is an assignment that everyone inside that locker room knows if we execute, nobody is beating us. You look at the Alabama game. Vandy didn't play Vandy football. Vandy doesn't turn the ball over inside the red zone. They had 2 turnovers. Vandy wins the time of possession. They lost time of possession. Vandy's better on third down execution. They lost third down execution. They lost the turnover battle. They lost all the things that Vandy doesn't do. So if you are Mizzou in this matchup, to get a signature win and put yourself in the conversation, because I've seen so many people just come after Mizzou for no reason. Like, why do they deserve to be ranked? Because they're a freaking good team. That's why they deserve to be ranked, idiots out there. You got to be able to look at that Alabama film and say, this is how they were able to make Diego Pavia rattled. We got to do the exact same thing if we want to win. And if you win this game, you're not out of the woods. You still have Texas A&M ahead. You still have to go face off against Oklahoma. But it does put you in a position where you feel a lot more confident about your college football playoff chances.
You mentioned, Bear, on the field. Again, both these teams are for real. Both these teams are college football playoff contenders. I think if you're Missouri, Bear, the first question is, you're Corey Batoon. Now, you're probably having a pretty sleepless week because you got to try to stop Diego Pavia.
Yeah.
And how do you stop him? That is the big question, because if he's doing things like we saw in the LSU game, you could have the perfect game plan, and he is a guy that can unfoil that and spoil that really, really quickly. What he does with the way he improvises. I mean, how many times against LSU did Diego Pavia feel the heat, spin out of the pressure? A play broke down. He had a big run. I mean, that was arguably the difference in the game, is some of those plays he made with his feet, some of the throws he makes too, fitting it into windows. some of the big plays Vanderbilt made on the offensive side, some of these catches they had down the field. How does Missouri stop Diego Pavia? I will say this. Again, we talk every single football game in the SEC. Line of scrimmage play, winning the point of attack is key. You've got to get Vanderbilt out of their game, though. You like you said, if they play Vandy football, they more than likely are going to win the football game. So you've got to get them out of their rhythm. You've got to get them off the field quickly. You cannot let them win the time of possession. You've got to be able to force the issue, force some turnovers. If you can confuse Diego Pavia, maybe he makes a mistake or two that's uncharacteristic. When you get an opportunity, you have to take advantage. You have to take advantage, get the football off of them. I think for Missouri, that's going to be so key because it's more about you're going to have to limit Diego. You're probably not going to full on stop him, but what was the thing LSU couldn't do a week ago? They couldn't get that big game-shifting play, that big momentum-shifting play in the form of a turnover or what have you, and they obviously lost the football game. So Corey Batoon, pretty interesting week, sleepless week for him, trying to game plan how do you stop Diego Pavia if it's even possible.
The good news for Mizzou when it comes to Corey Batoon, their run defense is elite. I mean, it still is arguably one of the best in college football. It's top 10 in the nation. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they're only allowing 3.1 yards of play. They've allowed 4 rushing touchdowns. They're allowing less than 100 yards per contest. What was the thing that Vanderbilt had last week against LSU? A very good on paper defense. The ability to run the football and the ability to create opportunities in space. 230 yards on the ground, 5.3 yards of play, 3 rushing touchdowns, 2 coming from Diego Pavia. You held Jackson Arnold in check at Jordan Hare. And at times it felt like he was going to have to be the opportunist to be able to make plays. You did allow 100 plus rushing yards to Jeremiah Cobb, but one of those plays was on a 40-yard scamper. So if you take away that 40-yard score, he was under 100 rushing yards as a team in general. You held what would have been Auburn to roughly about 110 rushing yards. Not a bad day at the office. The difference between a Jackson Arnold and the difference between a Diego Pavia is Pavia can throw the football. So how do you make sure that the only way he does beat you is through the air? Because if Trey Richardson had an opportunity to make a big over-the-shoulder catch, a little outside of his reach. Maitland Young had an opportunity to make a big-time play, a little bit out of his reach. Cole Spence got that big 21-yard strike, a little bit out of his reach. There were times where, the ball just kind of floated a bit too far toward its vicinity. And that's something to where this matchup for defensively Mizzou, I'm not saying it favors them at any means, but the wide receivers that you've already gone up against, Cam Coleman, Ryan Williams, we could throw in even what you look at for Emmanuel Henderson at Kansas at this point. There isn't a player like that on Vandy's roster. They could still beat you, but you've already been able to slow down multiple talented receivers. Latsier Brooks was the leading receiver in that game for Alabama. And he was a freshman, but he had 58 yards. If you can do that and slow down the rushing attack, not allow Vanderbilt to be able to win on the ground, it does give you an opportunity to force some 3 and outs, get the ball back to your offense, and trust that Ahmad Hardy's going to be able to go on off. Here's the problem with that. Vanderbilt also has a pretty good run defense. In fact, they're top 10 in the nation. So this is going to be a game where the quarterback's arms are going to have to win. And we just watched his Bo Pabula last week. For as good as he was to begin the year, building a rapport with Brett Norfleet, Kevin Coleman, Donovan O, he had 2 interceptions, including a really heinous one at the end of the game that forced the matchup to go to overtime. So there are some things that you look at right now that Bo Pabula is going to have to work on and build a good repertoire that puts him back in the position. Because we're talking about 2 games in a row where a turnover in the fourth quarter nearly cost Missouri back-to-back losses.
Yeah, I think that is interesting, Bear. Bo Pabula, can he finally emerge and step up and I think play to the level we know he's capable of? But yeah, it's the turnovers have haunted him. And he's been kind of cheating death a little bit the way he's been playing. I don't think you'll be able to do that in this one. I just flat out, if it's just a battle of the 2 quarterbacks, Bear, I got to be honest, right now, I trust Diego Pavia more. I feel like I know what I'm getting out of Diego Pavia more than a Bo Pabula, who, again, I don't think is a bad player, just going off based on what we've seen recently. I'm going to roll the dice and gamble with Diego Pavia more than I'm going to with Bo Pabula right now. But a big part of this game, Bear, you mentioned the rushing attack. What do we get out of Ahmad Hardy here? He was held pretty in check. He's been held in check the last 2 games. Yeah. I mean, you look at Auburn and Alabama, hasn't been the performances that I think you and I were both expecting. Not that he's been bad, but he was at just such a torrid pace. He has been limited and then some over the last 2 weeks. Bear, if Mizzou's going to get back to, and I say get back to winning ways, they've been winning football games, but if they're going to go into Nashville and beat Vanderbilt, again, what did we say? I think winning time of possession will be massive in this football game. How can Missouri do that? Get Ahmad Hardy, get Jamal Roberts, get that rushing attack going, play keep away from number 2 in black and gold. I think that's going to be a huge key for them, key for success, and key to victory in this game. Can we get Ahmad Hardy, Jamal Roberts in that running game going for MIZ?
Yeah, both teams are black and gold. So if I just say black and yellow, I'm talking about
Fair
Mizzou.
enough.
I'm talking about Mizzou only because of, let's be real, like I have to gotta go ahead and separate them. You got to remember that there was one explosive run for LSU last week, and it was the 50-yard scamper from Caden Durham. Ahmad Hardy's got to at least do that twice. Like, I think that's going to be the big separator, is when it's a third and short opportunity, and you know that if you just get that yard, but a yard turns into 20, turns into 30, turns into 40, that may suck the life out of Vanderbilt's defense to create a chance for Mizzou's offense to strike. And then you got to still be able to build that repertoire in the passing game. I mean, Donovan O has been on fire as of late. He's truly, I think, in my opinion, taken over as, if not the leading receiver, definitely the name that we're going to have to know long-term. But Kevin Coleman had a good day against Auburn. He had 4 catches for 61 yards. I think Brett Norfleet is one to where when you get inside the red zone, you have to win your one-on-one matchups. I don't know if Vanderbilt has a guy that can take away the element of him. And then also, you just got to rely on broken plays. I mean, think about this for a second, Chris. Both of LSU's touchdowns came on either poor tackling in open space with the Xavier Thomas 62-yard score, or the ability to manipulate Vanderbilt's defense to fall for the bait left when you were going right. Because the Trade Green touchdown was a delay seam pattern to where all of Vanderbilt's defenders baited towards the left side of the field, and right before Nussmeier got hit, saw 14 open, got the ball into his hands, and it was an open race to the end zone. So that's what Mizzou is going to have to rely on. Mizzou has the talent with these players, but the problem is that if Mizzou's offensive line can't protect Bo Pabula the way that Garrett Nussmeier wasn't protected by LSU's offensive line, I don't know that they're going to be able to create that separation to where they can break on open for the massive gains. But I agree with you. The two main elements I think in this matchup are, what are going to be Ahmad Hardy's rushing numbers? Are we going to see vintage Hardy come on back in for what we noticed before the Alabama game? And what are we going to see when it comes to the third down conversion rate, I think, from Mizzou? If they can just get a couple of shots open, move the sticks, time of possession is going to be really big for them. And the way to win on time of possession is to win on third down. Again, that's a staple of Vanderbilt. When Vandy does that, they hold the football, they play keep away from you, they find a way to win. You got to play keep away from Diego Pavia. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news and just make this all about, the standpoint of, but why you continuously talk about Diego Pavia? Because Diego Pavia is the reason you win or lose football games. When Diego Pavia plays Diego Pavia football, you do not lose out of Vanderbilt. He did not play Diego Pavia football against Alabama and Tuscaloosa, which is why they lost the football game.
Bear, it's going to be a fun one at FirstBank Stadium. Vanderbilt, Missouri. Again, a pair of teams. Who'd have thunk it before the season started? We'd be talking about this one as maybe, just maybe, the game of the weekend and big-time college football playoff hopes on the line.
Let me ask you before we move on, who needs this more, in your opinion? Does Mizzou or does Vandy? Because Vandy with the win, it solidifies, listen, top 10 team, no questions asked. Like, what more do you need us to prove? From Mizzou's standpoint, they don't have a ranked win yet. They have wins. They're bowl eligible, but they went to double overtime against Jackson Arnold out on the Plains.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably go Missouri. I think Missouri needs it more, just from the standpoint, fairly or unfairly, I think more folks are looking at Mizzou and thinking fraudulent. I do. I really do. Because of, like you said, they just left Como for the first time this past weekend. They don't have a ranked win. People are questioning, like, who have they really beaten, right? You're able to go on the road and beat Auburn, whoop-de-doo. But, like, if you can go into the West End and beat Vandy, it's not going to answer every question you have. But I do think it'll be a statement for MIZ. At this point, I mean, dude, you're Vandy. You just beat LSU. Like, I think you've answered the questions at this point. Like, I think you have proven to the nation that you are legitimate. I really do believe that. I think that LSU game was a really, really big statement to everyone. Not that that's the end-all, be-all, but, I mean, Vanderbilt, you got, after this Mizzou game, at Texas, Auburn, Kentucky, and at Tennessee. So I think you can navigate that to a college football playoff appearance even if you lose. I mean, when you look at Mizzou, you got A&M coming to your place, Mississippi State, at Oklahoma, at Arkansas. I guess both schedules are kind of workable for both. They both got like one really big game that's going to be a challenge, but I'd probably go Mizzou. I think Mizzou probably needs it more. I think both really want it, though. I don't think there's like one side that's like, hey, we can lose and no big deal. Because you and I both know, Bear, whoever wins this game is certainly going to be in the driver's seat for the playoff.
Yeah.
4 games to go with essentially a mulligan in your back pocket, right? I mean, that's sort of the way, not that they look at it, but we would look at it. 4 games to go with that mulligan in your back pocket. So, but I think MIZ just for overall morale, beating a high quality team, beating a ranked team, I think would go a long way for them.
Whether or not you want to say that they were a top 10 team, Vanderbilt has 2 ranked wins on the year. They beat a ranked South Carolina on the road, and they beat LSU at home. And they at least made things interesting against Alabama, to where when the resume gets pulled on out, you can say Alabama was the most dominant team after week 1, and they were able to just continue on this warpath of success. Mizzou doesn't have a ranked win. They were able to fight back against Alabama, but at the same time, it felt like that Alabama never was in jeopardy of losing the game. So you got to be able to get that ranked win. And you got to be able to consistently show you can win on the road. I think that's just a big staple where so far you have to go to double overtime out in Jordan-Hare and thank God have a horrendous play call from Hugh Freeze that kind of bails you out of trouble. But at the same time, if you win this game, if you're Mizzou, not only have you proven that times have changed out in Como, a lot of people are going to look at this and say their schedule's manageable, 10-2. We saw it last season with Tennessee. Mizzou's not going to get left out of the playoff. The committee cares too much about those double-digit wins than they care about those signature losses. So I agree. I think Mizzou needs this win way more than Vanderbilt. Not saying that either will not be able to punch their ticket to the playoff with a loss, but it's a lot easier, I think, for Mizzou to sit here and have that mulligan, whether it be against Texas A&M, whether it be against Oklahoma, whether it be against Arkansas, than for Vanderbilt to be able to say, hey, we lose this game. We're absolutely screwed.
Yeah, I do think the schedule, looking back, I do think it sets up better for Vandy once again at Texas, who's been very, very inconsistent or just downright not that great. Auburn, Kentucky at home. I mean, both those teams are hell. We're talking about them potentially changing their coaches. And then at Tennessee, which I know we're looking way ahead, Bear, but crazy to think that a spot in the college football playoff could come down to a game in Knoxville on rivalry weekend. Bear, that being said, let's lock in our picks. Let's lock in our predictions. It's Vandy. It's Mizzou. All eyes in the college football world are on Nashville. Like I said, who would have thunk it before the season started? You want the honors, or you want me to go here first when it comes to picking this game?
I'll rip the Band-Aid off because, again, this is going to hurt me either way. Again, who would have thought that we would talk about 2 teams that have not been known for being in the public eye of the SEC, fighting for a playoff berth in the middle of October, in center stage, Nashville, Tennessee, where College Game Day is going to be, where countless scouts are going to be, where multiple, I would say, athletic directors from other schools may have representatives on staff simply to go ahead and get a gauge on where these 2 are going to be. It's a matchup to where you have to realize it's 2 good football programs. Vanderbilt's not a run-of-the-mill roster. They're a legit team that, if they play their cards right, are going to have an opportunity to punch their ticket to Atlanta, punch their ticket to the college football playoff, and certainly, if they get the right matchup, maybe even host a game at FirstBank Stadium. And from a Missouri standpoint, they have a defense that is not being talked about at the national perspective enough. They did an exceptional job of shutting down Auburn on the road. They've done a good job of eliminating the rushing attack from multiple potent teams. And they have an offense that, when it hums, it is a warpath of success that certainly is challenging to stop. So to me, what this really is going to come down to are 3 main elements. Number 1, who wins the time of possession? It's a Vanderbilt staple, but if Mizzou can trust its ground game to consistently move the sticks behind Jamal Robinson and Ahmad Hardy, it's very easy to believe that they can win that battle. Number 2, which quarterback is better on 3rd down and trust their legs? We talk a lot about what we see from Diego Pavia with his rushing mentality. Bo Pabula has been one of the leading rushers for Mizzou in back-to-back games. I mean, you look at the numbers of what we saw, last week. Mizzou doesn't win that football game if Bo Pabula doesn't get in on that touchdown run. So which quarterback runs the football more efficiently, and which quarterback is able to gain more first downs with their legs? And the third thing is the turnover ratio. We have seen Diego Pavia have horrendous turnovers inside the red zone, and it cost them a win against Alabama and Tuscaloosa. There were moments where it felt like the momentum was swinging in favor of Vanderbilt, but the red zone turnovers were so costly, it led to Vanderbilt finding a way to lose. We watched as last week, you don't throw that interception to Catan Crawford, maybe we see a game-winning field goal from Mizzou and they don't have to go to overtime, and they just find a way to sit at 6-1 in regulation. We watched as you had 2 horrendous interceptions against Alabama. So the turnovers by the quarterbacks are going to be costly. Mizzou, I think, can run the football efficiently in this matchup. And I think the explosive plays will be there, just like they were for Caden Durham. And they'll be there more efficiently. This comes to who I trust at quarterback. And I've already said before, I've doubted Diego Pavia once. I can't do it anymore. I can't. I love my MIZ faithful. I think that they are a good team that can run the table and beat up on Texas A&M and beat up on Oklahoma and go finish the year 10-2. But at some point, I have said to myself, you get so many mulligans to doubt a kid. I can't doubt him anymore. And I'm sick and tired of people saying that Diego Pavia is not in the Heisman race. Folks, when you embody the entire persona of a city and put your team on your back and find ways to get signature wins, that's what the Heisman's all about. So Diego Pavia is certainly in the Heisman race, and he's going to do it once again. You don't doubt Baba Yaga when death is knocking on your doorstep. And death by Vanderbilt is knocking on the doorstep of every team that comes into FirstBank Stadium. And it's going to happen again. And Diego Pavia is going to find a way to be able to pull this one out. And as much as I think that Missouri makes this a 4-quarter battle, you do not doubt Baba Yaga at any point in the regular season. 31-28 final score. I got Vanderbilt pulling things away. And they solidify themselves as a legit threat to go to the college football playoff. Don't doubt them anymore. Vanderbilt's legit. And they're a playoff team in the making.
Bear, I love it. Baba Yaga strikes again. All eyes on the in the college football world on Nashville, Tennessee this weekend, exactly as it should be. Like I said, I wish I could be running it back in Nashville. I got to be honest, guys. I mean, listen, I live here. HQ is here for me. I live 10 minutes from Vandy Stadium. I live 5 minutes from downtown. To say we had a blast this past weekend is putting it very, very lightly. So there's a part of me. I'm excited for my travels this weekend and the rest of the season. But this past weekend reminded me why I love this city so much and why I'm so grateful I moved here. That being said, this game, what's most important here? This is the year of the door, Bear. This is the Commodores' year. It just is. Mizzou is a fine football team. Ahmad Hardy is one of the best players in college football. To your point, by the way, about the Diego Pavia Heisman thing, our friends are at FanDuel. He has the 5th best odds right now to win the Heisman at plus 800. So if you want to get in on that, it's right there for you. I do agree with you. I think you hit the nail on the head. Which quarterback do you trust more? And I don't think Bo Prabula's been bad, but he hasn't been Diego Pavia's level. And I think Vanderbilt learned a really valuable lesson in that Bama game. I think going on the road, dealing with that adversity, I think they got a little bit outside of themselves with some things they did. Bear, in that Bama game, Vandy rushed the ball with their running back 6 times. You can't win games and do that. I think they got kind of away from who they are and their identity, and you saw that course correction happen in the LSU game, and it paid major dividends. Tim Beck got back in his bag, got really creative in the run game, and obviously you got a guy, Diego Pavia, who's going to make a lot of offensive coordinators look really, really smart with what he can do. This game to me comes down to Bo Prabula. I do believe so. To me, it just feels like it's a game where if you're telling me Bo Prabula breaks out, has a big day, I very well could see MIZ walk in, get the win in a game that I think is going to be close, back and forth. But I just don't trust him. I just don't see it, and I do trust number 2 in black and gold, by the way. Mizzou, I know they're black and gold too, but you know which one I'm talking about. The Doors. I trust number 2 in the jersey that says Doors on it, that says anchor down. I like Vanderbilt this game, Barry. Just, again, doubt the Doors at your own risk. I was on the field after Vandy beat LSU, and I had a lot of Vandy folks come to me and say, hey, man, great pick. Don't you doubt us again. I doubted Vandy so much early in this season. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt now. Games at FirstBank Stadium, curious what the crowd's going to look like. Maybe it's close to 50-50 again. I don't think it will matter. This Vandy team is playing with such confidence and such belief that not only are they supposed to be here, they're supposed to be where they're going, which to me looks like the college football playoff, Bear. I like Vandy to win this game. It's another big day by Diego Pavia. I think Vandy actually pulls away late in this football game. Give me Doors 33, Mizzou 24. I think Vandy, this is the year of the Commodore. They take down Missouri. Mizzou, I think their college football playoff hopes still alive, but maybe a little bit on life support after this weekend. It's Vandy's time, man. It's just Vandy's time. Believe in the playmaking ability of what Diego Pavia does. And I think Clark Lee has a really good defensive game plan put together as well. I think they will key in on Ahmad Hardy. They're going to make Bo Prabula have to beat him. I just don't trust that Bo Prabula can do that if the game is on his shoulders and he's got to go out and beat Baba Yaga. So give me Vandy 33, Mizzou 24. The good times are going to continue to roll down in Nashville, Tennessee. Vandy, all eyes set on the college football playoff. Who'd have thunk it, man? I mean, who would have thunk it? So
Vandy football, college football playoff team. What a year of 2020.
Bear, I need a playoff game in Nashville more than I need air to breathe, my friend.
I'll tell you what, the script writers who currently work in this industry have already figured out what is going to be the plot for Diego Pavia to be in the playoff. Because I'll tell you what, they need a lead character and they need a villain. They ain't going to be a better villain than Diego Pavia shooting on up in a 12-team postseason picture.
None better. None better. So, guys, that being said, Cole and I both going with Vanderbilt to get the win over MIZ. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree? Who comes out on top when Doors and Tigers do battle Saturday in Nashville? Guys, that's going to do all for us. We appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Before we get out of here, do want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel, because as always, we are brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel's got an offer you don't want to miss this NFL season. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5. If it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style. FanDuel's got you covered. The NFL season's here. The only question is, are you ready to play? Visit FanDuel.com/SECU to download the FanDuel app and get started. Once again, FanDuel.com/SECU to get in on the action today. Once again, guys, that's going to do all for us. We appreciate you all tuning in. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts, all across all your favorite social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. For Cole the Bear Thompson, I'm Chris Phillips. We're signing off. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll catch you all on the other side.